Livestream Lounge, man.
Thank you so much.
How you doing?
Beer.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
It's beer. I mean, remember, like, for all the sky is falling, which I completely identify with, and for all the changes, turns out everybody still loves craft beer and wants more of it. And it still tastes unbelievable, actually better than it ever has in the history of humanity. So it's it's kind of awesome.
That's kind of a crazy concept.
Yeah, well, it's weird. It all changed so quickly. I think we're trying to digest. And, definitely the tone feeling a little bit more down is out there. But I don't know, whenever I go out and then I go talk to a bar owner or a customer, they get excited about it. So why wouldn't we just keep doing more of that?
You probably should.
A lot more.
So for our viewers who may not be familiar with Schmaltz, can you give us like a little rundown on you guys?
Yeah, so Schmaltz, so my name's Jeremy Cowan. I'm the owner of Schmaltz Brewing Company. We're currently based in upstate New York. We built a brewery in 2013. I was a contract brewer, however, for 17 years. I started the company in San Francisco in my apartment in the Mission. We did 100 cases of Hebrew beer for Hanukkah of 1996. I drove it around in my grandmother's Volvo, and we had hand-bottled it and hand-labeled it at a tiny little brewery. Switched to Anderson Valley Brewing Company for 6 years. Switched to Mendocino Brewing Company in New York, however, at their Saratoga Springs location in 2003. And also had a brand there in the middle called Coney Island, which did pretty well for us. And then I sold that to Sam Adams and Alchemy and Science. We recently have started a couple of new brands. One's called the 518-838 Craft, which is our local upstate New York brand, and took over for some friends of mine and a customer the Alphabet City line of beers based down here in New York.
And didn't you break that news last year?
Yeah, it was fun. So it's been a year. We're rebranding the Alphabet City right now. Some really cool new packaging, switching from bottles to cans. Introducing a new IPA. It'll be coming out right after the 4th of July, distributed here in New York through Manhattan Beer. I'm really excited about that, but we've so much going on with Schmaltz, too. It is a little bit of a scramble. We're talking about new SKUs and new products and innovation and barrels and sours and all the stuff we love. Trying to keep up with it all.
Well, and you are a master of shtick.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
I'm trying, man.
So one of the favorites of mine is the Circumcision Ale.
Yes.
Very well done.
So that was an April Fool's joke that I wrote, a press release. And actually, Chris was one of the ones who said, wow, I have gotten so many bad press releases, and this one is definitely one of them. It got some write-ups in a few newspapers, and we got some orders from wholesalers. So now Circumcision is part of our rotating barrel age series where we just do 100 sixtels for the whole country. You know, we're very lucky. We're still distributed. Knock on whatever I can find around here. We still have 40 wholesalers, most of whom order fairly regularly in about 25, 30 states. We have some new ones that we've expanded to in the last year, which has been remarkable given what's going on in craft. But, we have that is what we like. Lots of small batch, one-off, interesting collaborations. We're doing a really cool project with this year. Terrapin is our partner for Reunion Ale that comes out in the fall, but we're adding in Renegade from Denver and Eighth Wonder from Houston, both of whom were actually interns for Schmaltz Brewing. So we take all the credit for them. And it should be a wonderful beer this year.
I think my mic might have cut out. Can you hear me?
I can hear you good. We're good to
awesome.
go, man.
So one of the things that I've noticed about you guys is you're kind of a hustler. So I also noticed that you guys have like the Star Trek beer.
Yep.
How did you pull that together? How do you get like a brand licensing deal like that?
So we've done a few things over the years. Started with Lenny Bruce Tribute Beer. Bittersweet Lenny's our IPA, which is still one of my favorite beers that we make. I donate some of the proceeds each year to the Center for Constitutional Rights. We then had the Coney Island relationship that was a licensing agreement with an arts organization down in Coney Island. So when Star Trek came along, it was from my wholesaler in Canada, Vern at Delancey Direct, that some folks will know out there. And he said, do you want to join the Federation of Beer? It's like, dude, Vern, even for me, that's corny. Turned out, though, I grew up on Star Trek, the original series. Last year was the 50th anniversary. This year's 30th anniversary of Next Generation. The new TV shows coming out, the new movies are rolling. So it was a great opportunity. We make beer styles for our Star Trek line of that we don't make for our regular Schmaltz lineup. It's fun to experiment. It's great shtick. There's always fun packaging, and we love working with CBS and the Star Trek fans that are out there. We've done Comic-Cons and Star Trek conventions, and it's a ton of fun. It's a great reason to be experimental in our beers, and you could buy it at places like Cost Plus and Total Wines, and we've gotten wonderful feedback. I'm always looking for more customers, and the new one comes out in about a month. It's called Symbiosis, and it's a tie into Next Generation's 30th anniversary.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. So when you're going, we talked a lot about going to wholesalers and you know, making those deals. When you roll in and they may not know who you are, and I guess, how hard is it to sell shtick beer,
well,
Jewish shtick beer?
Listen,
I guess, very specifically.
I'm totally in awe of some of the people that have been here today are some of my heroes and people I've called for advice years and years and years. But if you're in the top 50 breweries in this country, it's a totally different experience selling to wholesalers. They're arguably suffer. You know, it's difficult. It's not easy when you've got Bud Miller and Coors and all the other big brands ahead of you. Come down to where I live at the I used to call it I'm under the toe of the guy who's on the bottom of the totem pole, and you're selling a beer with a dancing rabbi that's called the Chosen Beer to a bunch of guys who've never been to a bar mitzvah and have no idea what Yom Kippur is, and then they got to go turn around and sell it to the guys at the grocery store. It's a different challenge, but honestly, as I've been pitching lately, for better or for worse, I'm like, listen, when was the last time some of the names in this industry seemed like a good idea when they started? I mean, who wants a dogfish in your mouth or a smutty nose all over your pint glass? It's in when they make great beer, successful businesses, wonderful leadership, incredible staff, then it's a success. So what's the name really mean? As long as you're making world-class beer, everybody has to have their shtick. We just happen to have a lot more of it than most.
Recently, you've kind of gone about realigning your wholesaler.
That's right.
So tell me a little bit about that strategy, and like, have you seen growth? How is it working out? Yeah.
So over the years, like so many of us, I just started out with anybody who would answer the call or send me an email and pay COD. You're my wholesaler. So they'd sign up for a whole state, not ever having been there. That's changed. I've gotten a little more sophisticated, tiny bit. Traveled around the country for 10 to 20 years. At this point, for our local market, we switched to the Bud Network, which has been unbelievably wonderful. Saratoga Eagles, my local wholesaler. I will give them props and a shout out all the time. Down in the city, I moved the Schmaltz brands to a smaller company called Serene. 3 dudes and a truck in the beginning. There's more dudes and more trucks, but they're a smaller company, independently owned. They've done a fantastic job for my brands on the Schmaltz side. But I also work in the city with our Alphabet City brand with Manhattan Beer. That's one of the largest distributors. And then around the country, we have Bud Miller and Coors guys. We have Wine and Spirits guys. So it's really been a mix, and you have to struggle. And even when Laura Bell and the Great Lakes folks are saying it's about relationships with your wholesalers, they're totally right. But it's a very different type of relationship when you're the tiny guy at the bottom and you're not trying to be the next big thing. You're not going to come to them with a giant marketing budget and a squadron of staffers. You're going to come to them with really fun, super delicious products that we don't make that much of, that we want to share with people and have a good time. So, that pitch gets a little bit different right now. Sometimes you got to go to the smaller guys like I used to 20 years ago. And luckily, I've been very grateful and lucky that I can go to some of the bigger guys in some markets as well.
Right on. As far as Alphabet City, where do you want to take that brand? Like, it's very specific in its geography.
Yeah, so Alphabet City, most people don't even know. Alphabet City is essentially the Lower East Side, which is the East Village, Lower Manhattan. 2 homebrewers, Jason and Jeffrey, started on 7th Street between Avenue A and First Ave. Did an amazing job. We contract brewed for them for a couple of years, and then I've been able to kind of work with them on an ownership level here now as well. So we're going to rebrand some of the packaging and some of the beer style. One of the beer styles. We're putting out some seasonals that are really delicious. I love the brand because their idea was to make high-end craft beer approachable to almost anybody, especially in Lower Manhattan. So it's styles that we don't make as much of on the Schmaltz side, which tend to be a little more extreme beers and some crazy stuff and barrel aging and that, high ABVs. So it's a creative outlet for us. My goal is to make it more and more and more the life of New York City. We did that with Coney Island. I know we can do that with Alphabet City. Our goal is to open a brew pub, or at least tasting room, tap rooms in Lower Manhattan. Jeffrey's still bartending at Clandestino on Canal Street, and I want to get him over to bartend with us directly for Alphabet City, find a home here, and continue to do the networking and all the fun stuff that we love to do with arts groups and nonprofit organizations and community groups and beer lovers.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for coming on,
My pleasure,
Jeremy,
man. Thanks.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, congrats on all the success. Keep it up.